Depending on where you are, it's either Friday, October 17th or Saturday, October 18th, 2025. This is another playoff edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Looking for a refreshing citrusy kick? Go grab yourself a Mountain Dew. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. I told you on Friday's episode, we didn't know when we were going to do our next one, that something really special would have to happen for us to do a late night Friday taping Pacific time. And well, Trevor, here we are.
It happened, Chris. I mean, I think everybody that watched that game tonight, obviously he's talking about Shohei and what he was able to pull off, Dodgers dominance, all that great stuff, but specifically him. It was, I remember the Mad Bum night, shutting out the Royals and doing that whole thing, that whole series for him. I will never forget that. I won't forget this night either. This was truly one of the most remarkable baseball games I've ever seen played.
Well, for those of you that need to get caught up a little bit on it, here's just a sliver of what happened.
Ohtani, did he? Ohtani! Ohtani has done it again! His third home run! This was about as impressive as it gets.
The inevitable kind of happened today, Shohei. Oh my God, I'm still speechless.
I watched you after that third home run, and you mouthed the words, "What the?" Is he a human? Who is it there?
Sometimes you got to check yourself, touch him, make sure he's not just made of steel. But absolutely incredible, biggest stage, and he goes out and does something like that. Something you would probably remember as a Shohei Ohtani game. Yeah.
I said it multiple times. We're like the Bulls, and he's Michael Jordan. And whenever he goes, we're all gonna go, and you see it today. And I'm just happy he's on our team.
Listen, it's one thing for us to sit here. It's one thing for me, as a guy who's covered the sport for 3 decades, to sit here and say what all these glowing things. It's another thing for you, who got almost 10 years in the show and had 106 lifetime homers and played with and against some incredible, incredible players, to say it. It is another thing for 2 guys who have won multiple World Series with multiple teams, that have won personal MVP awards and are going to continue to be Shohei's teammate in Cooperstown somewhere down the road, to basically be out of words at this point. To me, that's when we all just have to stop and say, thank you that we are fortunate enough to be alive in this time frame and watch him create and weave his magic.
I can go one further. CC Sabathia tweeting out, he's the greatest to ever do it, cuz like he's an inner circle Hall of Famer guy already saying this about Shohei, and he's from an era that like really doesn't, those guys don't give that kind of praise to people, but Shohei is just different. We saw it today. 6 innings, 10 Ks, 3 pumps, 1 out of the stadium. And I was telling Jake this, and I think you saw it if you watched the game. He wasn't messing around tonight. This wasn't fun for him. This wasn't like he was on a freaking mission. Like when he hit that homer out of the stadium, he didn't even crack a smile, dude. He did his thing, whatever, around the bases, but it was all game time for him. And I don't know, do you think he heard the noise, or was he just finally pissed off that he hadn't been hitting the series, or?
I don't think he hears anything.
What do you think it was? Because he definitely came out tonight and he looked different out there, Chris.
Yeah, I think that he was pissed off with the way he was playing. And in part, I think it so much helped him that he had to focus on pitching tonight. That he saw what Snell did in game 1.
Go back to that, Dan. That face right there when he rounded first base. Look at this thing. First of all, he's disgusted right there. Like, how dare you throw me a 3-1 slider? This right here. Great freeze frame. Great freeze frame. That right there is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think it did help him that he pitched, because he saw what Snell did in game 1, what Yamamoto did in game 2, what Glasnow did in game 3, how the bullpen slammed the door shut in game 3, and he was like, I'm going to keep going. Let's just roll. But, man, the first at bat of the game. Remember, I told you earlier this week when Jose Quintana had given up a leadoff homer to Shohei a year ago in game 4 when Quintana was pitching for the Mets. and that set the tone. Well, right here, like whatever thought you had, if Milwaukee was like, well, they had such a good year and they just at least want to get one and then they'll go from there. It was over after that swing. It was freaking over after that swing.
I mean, it felt that way all series. It really did. It felt like this was going to be a dominant series for the Dodgers. It was a dominant series. It was more than a dominant series for the Dodgers.
And we'll get to that.
It was a mismatch.
We'll get to that side, but I want to continue on because a lot of people are going to say, and we're such prisoners at the moment, that this is the greatest playoff individual performance in the history of the sport. Is that too much?
I will say yes, because he's doing both, and I'll continue to harp on the fact that is different. There's been people that have had obviously very, very clutch performances in the playoffs. I just talked about Mad Bum. I went and looked up his stats in that 2014 World Series. He pitched Game 1, Game 5, and Game 7. He went 21 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and a handful of hits. He gave up 9 hits. So, that was obviously a very dominant series, but he didn't hit. Shohei's doing both at an elite level, and specifically this game. We're never going to see another game like this, Chris. We're just not.
Well,
so, yes, this is the best individual performance in playoff history, and you can't tell me any different.
He's the 11th player to have 3 homers in a single playoff game. He's the first player, though, to also strike out somebody in that same game, and he struck out 10. Now, I think we do have to give some other performances honorable mention. You could obviously go with Don Larson in throwing the only perfect game that we've ever seen in World Series history in 1956. You could go Reggie Jackson in the clinching game of the 1977 World Series, hitting 3 home runs, 3 pitches off of 3 different Dodger hitters. You could go Jack Morris going the full 10 innings of a 1-0 Minnesota Twins win in Game 7 of the 91 World Series. I think that's probably, in my lifetime, that's probably the runner-up. But I can't give it. I was like, Jack Morris, I don't even know if he ever held a bat outside of an all-star game, let alone got a ball out of the infield, let alone hit a home run, let alone hit 3. It is just remarkable. You better remember exactly where you were when this happened, because it's one of those games we're going to be talking about for decades and decades.
I agree. Like you mentioned, some of the most remarkable performances, and we're not trying to take anything away from those guys. Obviously, just incredible stuff from them. But this is different, Chris, and he's just different. He's in a category all of his own, and I don't want to hear you talk about Babe Ruth because he didn't do it on the pitching side as long as Shohei's done it, and we can talk about a lot of different things. I don't need to bring up, and I don't need to bash Babe Ruth right now, but Shohei's doing it at a time where it's different baseball. It's truly a world sport. And he is dominating it. And I want to say this real quick because I mentioned this on Talking Baseball, but Ron Darling had a great take during the game. He said, a line like this is usually reserved for Williamsport. He's making the game he's the best little leaguer. Like he's that guy. That's what he is to the competition right now. And we're talking about the best players in the world, Chris.
Yeah, certainly the last time you would see it, if you were a competitive baseball player, is high school. That's the last time. You're not going to see that in college. You're just not. Jack Caglione was through 97 at Florida and would hit bombs. I don't remember him hitting 3 homers in a college World Series game and throwing 6+ shutout innings. It just, while striking out 10, that sort of stuff. You did it at Crespi.
I was pretty good. Just let me just feel myself. I hit 3 homers in a game. I was wondering.
You know what you've become better at than even playing baseball? Predicting baseball. Because this is the 3rd straight show. You nailed it. It started on Wednesday's show where you said the Jays' 8 and 9 hitters had to get it going. and you saw Clement double, Jimenez home run, and that got the Blue Jays rolling. And then the next day, you said, you know what? Here's what's going to happen with Mad Max. In the middle of the game, Schneider's going to want to come out and take the ball out of his hand, and Scherzer's going to yell at him, "Get off my mount!" And it's exactly what happened. And then on Friday morning show, well, Shohei, we talked about how he wasn't swinging a great. Go, he's going to go off tonight. Maybe you just didn't give him enough credit.
Yeah, look, those are all. I mean, the Shohei one's about as easy of a prediction as you're ever going to make right there. So I don't want to. And I've been wrong a lot this postseason, but I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, come on, you did it. You did it. Let us know what you're thinking about. Plus, I know that there's fan bases that hate the Dodgers and can't stand. Even if you're a Giants fan, or if you're a Yankees fan and you can't stand I don't care what fan base, whatever it is around baseball. How can you not sit here and just enjoy what we're watching? Maybe give me a reason in the comment to not like it, because I can't find one.
There's no reason not to like this guy.
And to love what he's doing and what he's bringing to the sport. Hate it that it kind of happened on a Friday night. Because I would like to hear some of the talking heads talk about it the next day. I'm always curious, because they start talking a little bit more baseball in the month of October, and most of them are mispronouncing names and have no idea what's actually happening in the sport. But when it comes to Shohei, they do actually get excited, and I like hearing that side of it a little bit. So there you go. Oh, by the way, the Dodgers just clinched their 26th NL pennant and their 5th in the last 9 years. And they did it with a pitching staff that was preposterous what was going on. The stats that they had here were certifiably insane. They gave up 4 runs and 14 hits in a 4-game sweep. What did we just witness?
I called it a mismatch, and a lot of it was because of these guys. I mean, as good as you wanted the Brewers to come out and play, they were stifled by, start out with Blake Snell throwing 8, then Yamamoto doing his thing, throwing the complete game, and the best chance they had was Tyler Glasnow, who went 5 2/3 and threw really well against them. I don't know, man. I think this was what the Dodgers envisioned all year long. It really hasn't come into play until the postseason, and we're seeing the roster that all of us were scared of at the beginning of the year. We're seeing it come together right now. And we said that from time to time. We're like, you know what? The Dodgers know they're going to be in the postseason. They're just biding their time, trying to get healthy, waiting till the lights truly come on to turn it on. And a lot of that's just like talk, and it's not easy to do that. It's for most teams, there's a lot of teams that you can really say, yeah, they're going to be in the postseason. But to turn it on just like that, having to go through a wild card series, they weren't really expecting to do that. But here they are, as healthy as they've been all season, and just really they've been dominant. 9-1 so far in the postseason. 9-1, Chris,
and 24-6, I believe, in their last 30. And that kick really started after the Yamamoto giving up the no-hitter in Baltimore with 2 outs, right, on the home run, and then it was a game they ended up losing. And I remember we were talking about it. We were like, this bullpen's going to be a real problem. It's going to be a huge, huge issue. Well, don't give me stinky face, because
I'm just thinking about how many innings they've had to throw and how many guys have actually had exposure. It's been very minimal,
right? So it really didn't show up much, if at all, in the Reds series in that quick 2-game sweep. Then in Philadelphia, a little bit it did, but it also opened our eyes to kind of Roki and what he could end up doing. And they had one bad game where they ended up losing a game against Philadelphia where Yamamoto did not pitch well. But other than that, I said it in spring training, and I was curious whether or not, or how much it entered into their mind to become the greatest single season team in terms of regular season victories. Like, would they chase that? Would they go after it? It was the complete opposite. They shut it down to the point where their starting pitchers were pitching once a week. That was it. And I knew that I talked to a few of those guys. It didn't sit great with them. But I think that if you look back at it now and ask them, well, retrospectively, now do you see why this plan came about? And they were like, okay, I think probably.
Do you think that we saw some bullpen woes towards the end of the season because they were used so much to cover so many innings during the year? And if that's the case, then we really should be applauding this bullpen instead of kind of dragging them down. We should say, man, thank you guys for, I mean, the Dodgers should be saying, thank you guys for, buoying us, not booing us, during the regular season so we could get to this form that we're at right now. I think that's really how we should be approaching talking about this bullpen.
No, I think it's a great point. I think it's a great point because you can also see how finicky it is to have a consistent bullpen from year to year with the same guys. It just does not happen. I'm not here to call out one guy in particular, but at this time last year, all we could do was applaud Luke Weaver. And we were like, that guy went from reclamation project to the most badass reliever we've got going in October. And this year, he couldn't get anybody out. It just goes to show you that it's hard to rely on the same guys year in and year out, and particularly when you make deep postseason runs like the Dodgers have at times. And it's awesome. We're going to have a lot more time, obviously, to talk about them. Just looking ahead, the World Series would start if Seattle ends up winning one of the next two games. It would start in L.A., and if Toronto wins the last two games, if there are two games in the ALCS, then it starts north of the border, just to let you know. There you go. Hey, based on hundreds of millions of real-world tests, the experts at Ookla Speed Test, they have spoken. T-Mobile is now the best mobile network in all of America, so you can keep up with all the baseball postseason action from the ballpark to the backcountry. Why? Because T-Mobile has the most advanced 5G, the most towers, and a signal that goes farther than ever. So whether you're streaming the game out and about, checking stats on the road, or experiencing ballpark perks with Magenta Status, you're ready to stay connected wherever your fandom takes you. So head on over to T-Mobile.com/network to switch to the very best network around.